My wife is always saying when there's a scene in a movie in a parking garage, nothing good is going to happen. Kidnappings, bodies found in trunks of cars, you name it, and it happens in a parking garage. In real life, we tend to look at them less warily, and this is a story that proves we should not let down our guard anywhere, especially in parking garages. I was doing some shopping at a local mall, and it was getting late, so I headed back to my car, which was parked in the parking garage. This was after Christmas rush, so the place was sparsely populated with parked cars. I was approaching my car when I heard somebody struggling. I looked over to see a man with a cast on his arm attempting to open the trunk of his car while holding some packages. He was really struggling to hold the packages, and he looked really flustered. I watched him for a moment, trying to get his keys out of his pocket with the packages wobbling in his arms. Finally, he looked over to me and smiled. He asked if I could help him out a little bit. I said, "Give me a minute while I put my stuff in my own car." He looked a little peeved that I didn't rush over, but finally said, "Okay." I opened up my car door and tossed my items in the back seat. I closed up my car and turned back to the man, who looked around the parking garage and then back at me. He said he was in a hurry and had to meet somebody, so he asked if I could pick up the pace. If you ask me, he was being a little pushy for somebody looking for a favor. But I started heading his way. As I got closer, he shifted to the side of the car and then dropped his keys on the ground. He said he was sorry for being so clumsy, and he looked around nervously. This made me stop and look around too, but I didn't see anybody in the area. Just an empty parking garage. Me stopping seemed to make him agitated. He told me to hurry up. His kids were waiting for him at home. I paused and said I thought he was going to meet somebody else.
Yeah, my kids.
I could understand wanting to get home to his kids, but something wasn't right here. His story wasn't gelling, and he just seemed too jumpy for somebody who was looking for some kindness from a stranger. I stopped a few feet from his car. I always wanted to be helpful, especially to somebody who was infirm, but again, some small alarm bell was going off in the back of my head. I babbled out some excuse like I had to go back to the store for something I left behind, and I was sorry, and I couldn't help him. He pleaded with me that it would only take a few seconds, and I would be on my way. And I said I couldn't right now, not at this instant. He moved toward me a little and seemed to be getting angry. He said,
"The world is going to hell if you can't help somebody with a broken arm."
I started to back away and he stopped.
"Come on, it will only take a couple of seconds."
I shook my head no and turned away. He cursed at me. I walked quickly away and saw a security guard a few rows over. I called him, and at first he didn't hear me, so I walked his general direction and yelled again. This time he looked my way. I yelled to him that I had somebody who may need some help. The guard headed my way. Then behind me I heard a car start and peel away. I glanced back, and it was the man's car. Somehow he had gotten in the car very quickly and started it up. The guard reached me, and I explained about the man and how I didn't help. The guard said he would walk me to my car and check out the area. We walked over and saw the package that the man was holding, and it turned out just to be an empty box. But also there was a sling and something that looked like a fake arm cast. I looked at the exit and saw the man's car disappear into the night. The guard made a sigh and said I had just dodged a bullet. This was a ploy that serial killers like Ted Bundy used to lure in his victims. He'd get them in close and then he'd club them with a tire iron. Then he'd throw them in the trunk of his car and take them to a secluded spot where he could kill them. A chill went down my spine. I thanked the security guard as I drove away, and then I remembered what my wife says about parking garages. Nothing good ever happens in them. My favorite time of the year to shop is right after the crazy Christmas rush. Most of the people are so burnt out on shopping they don't want to go anywhere near a mall. So you can get in and out pretty quickly, and there's some bargains to be found. So a few days after Christmas, I decided to take a trek to the local mall and snag some cheap goods. After a long evening of shopping, I returned to the parking garage and was heading toward my car. The parking garage was sparsely filled and I didn't see many people moving around. But then I heard kind of a giggle and some footsteps that stopped and started. At first I just thought it was somebody maybe looking for their car and amused they couldn't find it. But every time I looked around, I couldn't see anybody. I would keep moving and then I would stop after hearing the sounds and glance around quickly. One time, I saw a quick shadowy shape disappear behind one of the pillars that supports the parking garage. I waited to see if somebody would come out the other side, but they never did. This was starting to get nerve-wracking and made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I made a beeline to where my car was parked, and then I heard the footsteps coming quickly behind me, and I decided to make a diversion to a place where I thought I'd be safer. My car was parked off to the side, and it was too far to me to get to safely. I made a run for the stairwell that led to the other levels of the parking garage, and I saw a shape moving in and out between the cars, closing in on me. I heard the footsteps and occasionally a kind of a giggle again. This was really creeping me out. I got to the stairs and quickly moved down to the next level and stopped and waited to see if anybody came after me. I heard the door open upstairs and some foot scuffling, but nobody came down the stairs. I waited for what felt like many minutes, but was probably only a few seconds. And then I heard the feet move away and the door to the stairwell close. I breathed a sigh of relief and just held my ground for a bit. I decided to stay on that level and walk back to the main entrance, and then use another stairway to see if I could find a safe way back to my car. I got up to the next level and couldn't hear anybody moving around. I didn't see anybody lurking behind one of those pillars. By a door, I saw a phone number on the wall for the security for the mall. I decided the best course of action was to call that number, because I was just a little too freaked out. After a few moments, a kindly security guard showed up and walked me to my car. He said that somebody had been accosted and stabbed on their way to their car a few weeks back. The victim ended up in the hospital and they couldn't describe their attacker. I thanked him for helping me get to my car and then jumped inside. As I drove out of the parking garage, I saw a shape by the entrance. It seemed to be watching me, and then it quickly moved out of sight. This again freaked me out, and I hightailed it out of there and drove as quickly as possible. I swear I heard something thunk against the side of my car as I drove out of the parking garage. I didn't even look back. I drove as quickly as I could to get out of there. And I swear I heard that giggle again. It was into the semester where you're always in a rush trying to get things done at the last minute, and of course, I was already behind. I was forced to park in the parking garage, which I didn't like because it cost more money than a regular parking lot and was a bit further from my classes, but I didn't have much of a choice. Classes went well, and at the end of the day, I headed back to my car in the parking garage, and there was always a chance I forgot where I parked my car. Of course, I got off on the wrong floor from the elevator and ended up wandering around looking for where I thought I'd parked my car on that level, but it was on another level. After a few moments, I figured it out and headed up the stairs to the right floor. I was heading for my car when I heard a strange noise. It was kind of a moaning, type of noise, and a bad feeling passed through my entire body. It was like an oppressive force was pressing down on me. Slowly, I spun around to see if I could find the source of the noise, but I couldn't see anything. It didn't go away. I started moving toward my car again, and I saw a shape move in the parking garage further ahead. It was very brief, and I wasn't even sure what it was. The fear began to grow in me, and I knew I had to get to my car. I started walking very quickly, and then I saw the shape again, and this time I felt fear and a kind of sadness. Instead of going to my car, I went to where I saw the shape. I moved along with a sense of dread, but I couldn't stop myself. I reached a section where a bunch of cars were parked, and then I saw an open space on the side of the garage, and there was a shape of a person standing in it. It looked like a man, and it just stood there on the edge of the parking garage, on that ledge. Somehow I knew it was in distress, and I also knew that it was about to jump. I was locked in place, frozen with fear. I wasn't sure what to do, and then the shape just disappeared. A wave of fear and despair passed through me, and I went to my knees on the concrete of the parking garage floor. I must have kneeled there for at least a few minutes while I tried to collect myself. I hope nobody saw me, as I probably looked pretty weird. I put myself together and staggered back to my car. Once I got home, I did a little research, and I found out that 2 years ago, a despondent student had climbed to that floor of the parking garage, and then they had jumped to their death. It was a truly sad story, and I felt a little helpless. From then on, no matter how late I was running, I decided not to park in that parking garage again. Editor's note: if you are feeling helpless or despondent with suicidal thoughts, there's a national suicide prevention number you can call. Please call if you feel the need.